Hi, my name is Ahmed Awais. I'm the coach and founder of Agile 7, a coaching practice that helps you face uncertainty with confidence. Now, usually I post videos on the weekends, so today is a little unusual that I'm posting in the middle of the week. Partly it's because I wanted to keep my mind out of the election. And no matter what the outcome is, I know we're stronger and we're stronger together. So today I wanted to talk about a backstory, a question I frequently get. How do I pronounce my name? And I wanted to actually talk a little bit more about that, as well as a little bit a story that I haven't shared with many people, including many of my family members. So stay tuned, and maybe I'll also next video, if you want, I will talk about why I call it Agile 7 or what's the significance about 7. But today I just want to talk about my name, Ahmed. So, uh, first of all, I'm a Pakistani American, which means that America is my adaptive home, and I love so many things about America, just the nature, the libraries, there's so much, and I feel blessed, and this is my home. Yet I am grounded on where I came from. So, and I was born in Pakistan, and the correct pronunciation, so to reveal the whole story earlier on, the correct pronunciation is Ahmed. And if you're from Pakistan or you're from the subcontinent, from India or Bangladesh, most commonly people say Ahmed. And if you're from Turkey, you probably will hear the word Ahmet. And but the correct pronunciation is Ahmed, and the last name is Owais. Now, strangely enough, Ahmed Owais is my whole first name. I don't write my last name, and there's a story about why not. Even though my father wrote his last name Chaudhry, my grandfather wrote his last name Chaudhry, and all my children that were born in America, their last names are Chaudhry. But legally, my full name, Ahmed Owais, is actually just my first name. And there's a lot of interesting quirks in there. So the reason there is in the subcontinent, people have the name Muhammad or Ahmed to kind of honor the Prophet and kind of relate back. So it's kind of that honorary name that people don't call you with. So whatever follows that first name, Muhammad Afzal, then Afzal will be the name that people will call them with, or Ahmed Farouk, and people will call them Farouk, right? But for me, Ahmed is my first name, so is Owais. But funny enough, that people in my own family can't pronounce it correctly. So I had to acclimate myself to that. I actually asked my teachers because I was very curious about the name. The name is Arabic, but obviously people in the subcontinent they cannot pronounce it correctly. And so when they don't correctly pronounce it, they say different names. Ahmed Abbas, right, is a Punjabi variation where I come from. So there's a lot of curiosity there. Now, another quirk, and that's the story I wanted to share. Many people don't know this, even my own family members, that my name is spelled Ahmed, whereas my older brother, whose also first name is Ahmed, again, the same reason, because it's honorary, his name is Ahmed Bilal, but he writes it Ahmad. So what's going on? Blood brothers, and one person writes the name with an AD and the other person writes with an ED. And the story here is my father, who passed away in 1988, and also wrote our names with ED. And when we went into the school system, when we went to when engineering school, both of us are electrical engineers. We studied in this place called University of Engineering and Technology in this city called Lahore. And when we went there, the clerks in the university took it upon themselves to modify the name. Now, my brother just accepted it. He said, okay, that's fine. AHMAD, that's what it is. And I fought back. So I went to the administration and say, hey, what's going on? Why does my name say AD? It's supposed to be ED. And first they said, well, that's how you filled out the forms. I said, well, that's incorrect. And I had proof to show them that it was ED. And they say, well, actually, and this is where it got bizarre. So one of the previous presidents of Pakistan, General Ziaul Haq, had a ruling that people should not officially write Ahmed with an ED because those were people from the Ahmadiyya or Qadiani community. There's a sect in Pakistan that is a very, is recognized as a non-Muslim sect in the country. And they say, well, to distinguish them, they want to say that the correct names AD and the ones that write ED are from that sect. And I told the professor, he was my applied chemistry professor, who also did administration for the university. So, well, but I am not Qadiani. I'm not from the Ahmadiyya community. And, I wish to spell the name the way my father spelled it. And, why is that so difficult? And he said, well, just accept it. And I said, why? And that's just kind of my nature. I persist. So I said, well, what can I do about it? And he said, well, you can take it back to your board. So in Pakistan, on the 10th grade, your matriculation, that certificate, your 10th grade certificate, is essentially the one that feeds into your identifications. And that was in another ancient city called Multan. So I took a flight, and I had never taken a domestic flight before. I had taken international flights, but never a domestic flight. So I said, first time for anything. I was brave enough. I went there. I talked to a lot of people like a dog chasing a bone. I found out that it was a clerical error. And finally, when they did give in, they said, fine, fill out all the forms. And they were kind of trying to get me to move away and delay it. But I kept on filling out the forms, kept on doing the due process. Eventually, I got what I wanted, which was to get the name spelled the way my father spelled it, which is Ahmed. And here I am with that name, Ahmed Owais. So that was kind of a curious story, but just, my friend says there, I persisted, and things are worth fighting for. I would say these are things that are worth fighting for, and names are very important. So many years ago, I saw this movie called Into the Wild about the story of Chris McCandless, who passed away through poisoning, potato seed poisoning in the wilderness of Alaska. And he used to call himself Alexander Supertramp. Eventually, he had an epiphany, and he said, "Call things by their right name." And that moved me. And I would recommend, if you can read the book. It was published in 1996. I forget the author's name. Is it Crocker or something to that effect? Or watch the movie that came out in 2007. But it is delightful. Love of the nature, love for people, love for names. So, and again, I always want to honor people's, need to call them by the right name, because I do believe that names have effect on personalities, and we don't want to abuse. We don't want to bend the leg. We want to try, and to be honorable and to be delightful. And you find peoples who had changed their names for whatever reason, and there's a long story, and I guess the election also um, amplifies a certain individual whose last name was changed here. Not the best examples of a human being, but let's be better. Let's be better humans. And when somebody asks you to pronounce their name correctly, let's at least try. Let's be more inclusive. Let's be more accepting. Let's be more tolerant. So there you have it. I just wanted to share the backstory of my name, and maybe next time I'll share a backstory of Agile 7 and what 7 has, and what are the deep meanings behind the number 7 and why it applies to the coaching practice that I'm establishing. But I wouldn't know unless you comment or like or send me an email. You can subscribe on my newsletter at agile-7.com. So I'm signing off now. Have a wonderful, lovely 2021 and the rest of the year. And no matter what, we all are in this together. Take care.